What is going on, collectors? Optical 20 back for another video review. Today we're going to take a look at Selina Kyle 2.0 from Hot Toys, and you can order this at bigbadtoystore.com. I'll put the link down below. $4 shipping, double box your item. You don't need to add anything, and you can put it on your pile of loot so you can ship it all at once. But let's take a look at this packaging. It's very monotone. You know, it's just her picture. Kind of, I don't know. I like this kind of packaging, honestly. I hope we get this from Bane, kind of looking the same way as well. You know, DX19 is a bit different. It would have been nice to have those three, kind of like the poster or the wallpaper that they do have. So let's unbox this thing. So I normally don't take too much time for this because let's be honest here. You remove it. You put the box. Some people do display the box behind the figure, and if you do have the space, that's the way to go. But for most people, I would say it goes back to the shipper if you have one, and then it gets stored out in the garage or your storage or wherever it might be, right? So it's very to the fortunate ones who could display this. That is amazing. But let's open this lady up, and I'm excited because I don't have a Selina Kyle at the moment. I sold mine when I heard about this. 2.0 always makes it better in one way or another, so we'll find out if that is the case with the Selina Kyle. I know there's also already been reviews out there. Let's take a look at the mask. This is a nice one because the one that we had on the previous one, at least the special edition, is a full mask. This is not the Bane mask. It's like somewhere in between. And right off the bat, just holding this figure in hand, it feels better already. The hair is sticking on the back of her clothes, which is kind of weird. And you can feel there's some sort of product, but not enough to transfer to your hand, if that makes sense. But it just feels different from the Selina Kyle that I had. Also, you can see some hands in here. You have this wrist pegs. I thought it was something else. And on the back, so the hands are pretty much the same hands that you got from the previous Selina Kyle. The fisted hands, the bat pod hands, and all that stuff. The gun holding hand. At the bottom, though, this is one of the biggest difference is the base. This intricate diorama base that they do have, and I would say the same as the one that you have with Bane, is the biggest factor. Now keep in mind, this is almost $100 more, because I remember the previous Selina Kyle retailed for $185 if I'm not mistaken back in the day. Now it doesn't have this base, but is this base worth $100? Inflation as well, all that good stuff. But right off the bat, this base, I thought it's gonna feel cheap. It's not. It's the border is actually plastic. Now the fence on the back is cardboard. I mean, is it really that expensive to have chicken wires on it? Just instead of using a cardboard. I don't know. I don't think so. But they chose this route. It's printed. It is what it is. But it's let's put it this way. It's a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought the entire thing would be cardboard. Even the brown part. I'm happy to report that the brown part is made out of plastic. Now, Catwoman. Well, let's take a closer look in these accessories. So, gloves, hands, whatever you want to call them. There's a few of them. It is actually nicer this time because the print or the carbon fiber is not embossed, so it looks like it is stitched into the glove itself, and it's not like one of those plate that you just put in there. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I didn't pay too much attention to the costume design of Dark Knight Rises, but I can just tell right off the bat, it just looks better. It just looks better from the previous Catwoman. She still has her Glock. I'm pretty sure it's the same mold, same everything, and that is actually a good thing. The guns nowadays doesn't have the spring loaded, and it might be a good thing as well because you can hold it in one position. This one has, textured grip. all those details as well. You could remove the magazine. I'm not even gonna try it here. You're not even gonna do that anyway. But the mask itself, I'm pretty surprised about this because I have Bane, and it's not the same mask. Bane is more half masked. This is like a quarter damage, and you can see, the damage is different on every part of this mask as well. But looks pretty good. I like it. I like it a lot. From the bottom there, on the side there's some scratches and whatnot. It's not a shiny, so it's matte, so I love it. But I would say the real star of this would be this base. It is beautiful. It comes in 3 parts. You could use different parts, honestly. If you don't want the backdrop, you could do that. If you don't want the water, you also could do that. You could remove this tall backdrop. The only thing, I don't mind the cardboard box. So the metallic part, the one that looks rusty, it is made out of plastic. So I'm happy to report that there's some weight to it. That is cardboard. Again, chicken wires is not that expensive. I wish they would have just used that. Yes, the backdrop is going to be whatever your backdrop is, because it's going to see through it. But I think that would look a lot better. Now, from afar, it's not that bad, but, Now let's go to the tailoring. The biggest part of this Catwoman or Selina Kyle is people, having their old 1.0 peeling with their pleather and all that stuff. The gloves, and I can't say that it's pleather or not pleather, but it doesn't feel like the same material as the old Selina Kyle. I can tell that. The suit itself feels better as well. The proportion is 10 times better. One thing I don't like is the body that they used. I mean, the proportions of the body, the hips are wider. I think the curve is a lot better this time. The proportions, the height, the waistline, everything. It's single jointed elbow. I have no idea why we keep on coming back to that. Women figures, single jointed. What did they do to deserve this? Now, one thing as well is the boot right now is one piece. If you go back to Selina Kyle 1.0, there's a cut on the ankle, kind of exposing the ankle. Now you can get movement in there if you want to, but having her with these heels is hard to balance her anyway without a stand. Be careful if you're using this stand as well, because it'll stick into, you don't want the metal part touching the figure at all. You just kind of want it, you want to balance it by itself. Because those materials, even though it's not pleather, over time, if you don't move the figure, it would stick. It would stick there. Again, the material here is a lot better. You can see the hair is much improved compared to the Selina Kyle 1.0, which is a good thing. These are the positives of this figure. I would say the gloves, the boots, the pleather material, everything. The shape of the figure, the proportions, beautiful. Just aesthetic wise, it's great. Now let's go to the head sculpt. This one was controversial. Not that you cannot remove the mask. You could easily remove the mask. I guess they made this that you're not supposed to remove the mask. The likeness isn't that great, and I'm not even going to try to do that because the hair is nicely styled right now. If you had a 1.0, you know what I'm talking about. Fixing this hair is difficult. It's a difficult job. So I'm not going to go through that again to expose a head sculpt that is mediocre. She looks a lot better with a mask on. Now, I started with this look where I put her goggles down. I'm also disappointed that there was no improvement made on the goggles. This goggles was very fragile and the first one to break if you play around with it a lot. By playing around, I mean, moving it up and down and all that stuff. They should have made improvements or at least made it die cast so it doesn't so you could at least prevent that from happening a lot better. They didn't do that. Here, you can see there's a lot to like about the head sculpt. Like the face of the the shape of the face. Sorry, I'm getting a tongue twister there. Is a lot better. You got the cheekbones, the hair. Her hair is a lot better. It's cut nicely. It drapes better. There's more volume to it. You can see the mask is, before it was hard to press them together as well. The hair is cut straight. It's not all over the place now. A lot better. This is undoubtedly better than the Selina Kyle 1.0 in every way, in my opinion. Even the head sculpt, even if you remove the head sculpt, now the eyes of the previous one, I would say is a little more life if without a mask. Again, I'm not gonna remove the mask on this one. It's just, I've seen it. It's not that great. So, it's carbon fiber on the mask. Detail wise, it looks good, but I've seen this on 1.0. I wish there was rolling eyeball system and also that hairline that you see. Now her hairline is a lot better from here to the 1.0. The 1.0 has this little baby hairs that it's not perfect, but it's also not as bad as people make it out to be. Like the hairline, it's decent, right? Like it's $2.99. The lipstick is redder. I like that. The jawline, the cheekbones, everything else I do like about the head sculpt. Articulation wise, it's in a separate neck and ball joint, so you can have her look down, but be careful. You can see that black part on her neck. Make sure nothing is touching her chin or nothing like that. Otherwise, if you leave it there for a long period of time, you would have some staining. This body is awful. See, you can't even raise it sideways. You gotta push it down. You can see the gap on the shoulders. You can move it up because this arm doesn't have bicep swivel and all that stuff. You are limited in those movements. I don't know why, because she is fully covered, and the elbows, at least on mine, are very kind of ratchety. Not even ratchety is the right word. It's very tight. It's tight that it's almost scary to move it around. Feels like you're gonna snap them. But once you loosen them up a little bit, you can get that some nice good ab crunch here, ab crunch back as well. Just that, there's no bicep swivel, as you can see. They do this all the time in women figure. Why? That's the only complaint that I have. I have no complaints about the head sculpt. Now you can raise her, her legs up. There's gonna be bunching, but that is expected. You can also bend her knees pretty tight right there. There is an ankle articulation, but this is one solid piece compared to the old one. I'm only worried about that 'cause I'm gonna put her on a bat pod at some point, not permanently, but I want to be able to. And she could ride the bat pod without any issues. She is articulated enough, just not on the elbows. Now let's put her in some poses before we wrap this thing up. This is the use of her backdrop here in the sewer. If you remember, this is a different scene, but you get the idea here in the sewers with Bane and all that stuff. I love the backdrop. I really do. I think this is a very solid backdrop that they used. You could use it for different figures as well, mostly Bane. Imagine if you got two, you can put them together. It has to be something modular, right? But it's nice. It's nice. I like the look of it. Maybe I'll put Pennywise in there or something. I don't know. And this is her. She can raise her arm forward, like pointing a gun. She's hard to balance. I know some people can do that. I don't have the patience to do that. This is, if I would give an advice, this would be the proper way of putting a stand on her. Avoid the metal part touching any part of her suit. That is just there for safety purposes. Just in case she tilts forward, those crotch grabbers are gonna grab on and kind of save her from dropping. Other than that, avoid any metal parts touching this type of material, because especially if you don't touch it all the time, it would stick, and you would have some peeling happening there. And this is her in her bat pod. That's pretty cool. Like I said, you could have her sitting there, riding that bat pod, and you're gonna be okay. It's nice. She's poseable enough that she could ride this. Just again, just the elbows. I'm pretty annoyed about that, but she looks good. And here she is, size comparison wise to DX19, and the good old Bane. I'm waiting for Bane is one of my anticipated figures from Hot Toys this upcoming year. I hope we see Bane in the fourth quarter. If I'm always get my stuff at Big Bad, so I'll probably see that next year. But I can't wait. That Bane has a lot of improvements on it. It does have the rolling eyeball system, which Selina Kyle does not have, which is unfortunate. But it doesn't take away from this figure. As you can see, that's a good lineup of the Dark Knight Rises figure. And there you go, guys. Final thoughts on the Selina Kyle. This is a bit controversial. Not a lot of people did not like this. Did not like the fact that, you know, there's certain aspects of this figure that are not perfect. And I'll be the first one to say it's not a perfect figure. But if you are a Dark Knight fan, I think it's a must-have. I think it's a must-have if you're a Dark Knight fanatic. If you never had a first Selina Kyle, there's no point in going back and picking that up. That's probably old now, even if it's new, sealed in box, and you run the risk of getting a figure that's flaky. This is the best option that you have right now. I think that Selina Kyle is, 6-7 years old. If you're looking for a 2.0 or a 3.0 of this, you might wait a little longer. Or you might see this in 3 years. I'm not taking that risk. I love my Dark Knight. I love my Nolan trilogy. So for that, even though this is not a perfect figure, it is pretty darn good. From the proportions, the head sculpt, the facial structure, the base, the material, knowing that, hey, at least if it's gonna peel, it's gonna buy me some time. My Selina Kyle didn't really peel. It started peeling when I tried moving it before I selling it. Then I noticed something. But that took, 7 years? I mean, if this is gonna last another 7 years, then I'm on borrowed time. So now I reset the clock. And while doing that, I'm enjoying this, on my display, it kind of completed my Dark Knight Rises display. Because I'm gonna have Bane. That's not even a question. This is still available right now. Do not wait. You could, but there's no guarantee that they're going to 3.0 this. This is not selling that well. So, hey, grab it while you can. Don't, because before the Selina Kyle became really expensive. But hopefully this review helped you out. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. And I'll see you guys in the next video.